statue to Reverend Alexander.
There used to stand a statue to Reverend Alexander.
But his statue,
and the statue
of everyone else here, was removed when they demolished 3 public buildings. All of the other statues have been put back on public display. Including E.D. White. He was the man there was the statue of in front of the state Supreme Court building.
He was the man who had the statue in front of the state Supreme Court building.
He was a staunch defender of Jim Crow segregation.
In
fact, he was just as staunch a defender of Jim Crow segregation as Reverend Alexander was a fighter against Jim Crow segregation.
And in fact, he was
a staunch defender of segregation.
Point of process? Just so you know, we use people's microphones. Because some of us are blessed with good hearing. And some of us are not.
Okay, so I have a proposal. I propose that we rename this occupation, or at least this plaza, Avery C. Alexander Plaza. And I think this would send a message to many people in New Orleans. That they are welcome. It also would correct an injustice. One is, hopefully that will give pressure on the city to put the statue back up here. And also, hopefully that will give the authorities the input to rename Duncan Plaza Avery Alexander Plaza. By the way, Mr. Duncan was a rich businessman from uptown. Most people don't know that. Unless you're with his family. But naming this Avery C. Alexander Plaza would definitely be a message to the working and African American majority of this city. That they are welcome. And that we are monitoring the authorities for their failure. To put Avery's statue back up. And their failure to follow through with the state proposal to rename this park Avery Alexander Park.
And
that is my proposal.
Okay, you've heard the proposal. Next up. We're going to open stack.
For clarifying questions.
Do you want to rename the plaza? Or the movement? Or both?
Good question. Legally, we don't have the authority to rename the plaza. So a compromise there would be to suggest to the politicians. That we would like this. That this square be renamed. But I do think it would be a boost for the occupation to modify its name. Call it the Avery Alexander occupation.
Avery Alexander occupation
That
Nola.
sounds like a separate proposal.
Okay. So I've got to focus on one proposal, right?
Yes. So
okay, good. I'll focus on this one then. On naming it the Avery Alexander occupation Nola.
on naming it the
Avery Alexander occupation Nola.
Yeah. I think
Too confusing. I think.
this all sounds great.
This all sounds great.
But no other cities
But no other cities
are naming their occupation after civil rights leaders in their cities.
after civil rights leaders in their
So for
cities.
consistency's sake,
So for consistency's sake,
I say we leave it Occupy Nola
I say we leave it Occupy Nola
and just rename the plaza.
and just rename the plaza.
Fine with me.
I thought we were still on clarifying questions.
I thought we were still
On clarifying questions.
You're right.
You're right.
That would have gone into concerns.
That would have gone into concerns.
Thank you.
My apologies.
My apologies.
I got sidetracked.
Sidetracked.
My original clarifying question
Question.
is, should we rename it?
Should we rename it?
By it, I mean the plaza.
By it, I mean the plaza.
Avery Plaza
Avery Plaza.
or Alexander Plaza.
Or Alexander Plaza.
Point of process. I believe that would be
I believe that would be
an amendment.
an amendment.
First we have to agree
First we have to agree
to change the name.
to change the name,
And then you can propose.
and then you can propose
what that name will be.
what that name will be
As part of that.
as part of that proposed.
Are there any more clarifying questions?
Are there any more clarifying questions?
Have a point of process.
Point of process.
Never mind.
You have
A little bit.
more information on Mr. Duncan.
More information on Duncan.
He is on Wikipedia, 2 lines.
He's on Wikipedia, 2 lines.
I'll take a look.
If we were to rename the plaza,
If we were to rename the plaza,
when we're telling people that where we're having the meeting,
we're telling people where we're having the meeting,
they might not know what we're talking about.
they might not know what we're talking about
Since they haven't been a part of this decision.
since they haven't been part of this
And I think
decision.
it would confuse. And I
I
think
think it would confuse.
Point of process, sorry. That's a great concern.
That's a
great concern.
As soon as we close stack for concerns, sorry.
For questions?
As soon as we
Full stack for
That was
clarifying questions.
clarifying questions.
clarified question.
For clarifying questions.
That would be a concern.
That would be a concern.
So I would have closed stack for clarifying questions.
So I would have
Closed
closed stack
stack
for
for clarifying
clarifying
questions.
questions.
And you would voice your
Mic check.
Mic check.
As a point of information,
As a point of information,
the street address of where we are
The street address of where we are
is 345
is 345
Loyola Avenue.
Nola Avenue.
People can find that
People
You can find that
on any map
on any map
or search engine.
or search engine.
Also,
Also,
in front of City Hall,
in front of City Hall,
works too.
works too.
Right. Do I have permission to close stack for concern?
Do I have permission to
Close stack for
Sorry. Clarifying question.
clarifying questions.
Okay. We will now move to concern.
We will
We now move to concerns.